tennis is dying, and this $4 billion land grab is the predator eating its carcass. While traditional racket sports face a slow death, a Mexican backyard game is taking over. It is not happening by accident. It is a calculated, high-stakes real estate disruption. In 2026, the sport of padel is no longer just a hobby. It is an addictive financial engine backed by sovereign wealth and celebrity millions. The math is simple. A busy padel court can generate $600 every single hour. That is 6 times the revenue of a tennis court in the same square footage. The land grab is happening in abandoned warehouses, on luxury rooftops, and in parking garages. This is not a sport. It is an industrial efficiency play. But to understand how this hostile takeover began, we have to look at a mistake. A mistake made in 1969 by a man who just wanted to keep his neighbours happy. That domestic solution accidentally created a safety net for the world's stickiest sport. The accidental invention? The year was 1969. The place was Acapulco, Mexico. Enrique Corcuera was a wealthy industrialist with a problem. He wanted to play tennis in his backyard, but his property was carved into a steep hillside. He did not have enough room for a full-size court. He also had a neighbour whose garden was constantly bombarded by stray balls. To fix this, Corcuera built 3-metre-high walls around a small 10 by 20-metre space. He did not realise he was building a $4 billion cage. The walls were originally meant to stop arguments with his neighbour, but they created a new mechanical reality. In tennis, if you hit the ball too hard, the point is over. In Corcuera's backyard, the ball hit the wall and stayed in play. This is the geometry of retention. It meant that total beginners could maintain a rally for minutes on their first day. In traditional tennis, reaching that level takes months of expensive lessons. Corcuera had accidentally lowered the skill floor while keeping the tension high. His wife Viviana reportedly loved the new game. It saved their marriage from constant ball hunting and neighbourly disputes. But while the sport was born in a backyard, its expansion was fueled by the jet set. By 1974, a Spanish prince named Hohenlohe brought the game to Marbella. It became a status symbol for the European elite. But the real disruption was not the fun or the fame, it was the cold, hard math of the footprint. The goldmine math. Look at a standard tennis court. It takes up roughly 670 square meters of land. Most of the time, only 2 people are playing on it. From a real estate perspective, that is a disaster. It is a massive amount of space generating a very small amount of rent. Now look at padel. You can fit 3 padel courts into that same 670 square meter footprint. And since padel is almost exclusively a doubles sport, that means 12 players, 12 people paying for court time instead of 2. This is the social scaling mechanism. In major cities like London or Dubai, court fees hit $50 per person per hour. That is $600 an hour for the same space that used to make $100. This is the revenue multiplier. It is the reason developers are ripping up 100-year-old grass courts today. A busy paddle club in a metro area can break even in just 24 months. That is a faster return than almost any other recreational asset on the market. Investors call it the ultimate sports gold rush. This is due to the 92% stickiness rate. Data from Playtomic proves that if a person plays once, they almost always return. The sport is a social network disguised as cardio, but as the money started flowing, the sharks began to circle. In 2022, the unification war turned a social hobby into a geopolitical power play. The unification war, for a decade, the sport was controlled by the World Padel Tour. It was a localized, mostly Spanish business. Then, Nasser Al-Khelaifi entered the room. Al-Khelaifi is the chairman of Qatar Sports Investments and the boss of PSG. He saw what everyone else missed. Padel was the perfect lifestyle asset for a sovereign wealth fund. He launched Premier Padel in 2022 with a massive infusion of Qatari capital. It was a live golf-style disruption. They offered players higher prize money. They offered freedom from restrictive monopolistic contracts. A bitter legal war followed. Lawsuits flew across international borders for 2 years, but by 2024, QSI simply bought the competition. They unified the sport under a single global banner. Now, the entire professional ecosystem is centralized in Doha. Celebrity investors like Zlatan Ibrahimovic are scaling this empire. Zlatan's Padel Center brand is turning warehouses into luxury sports hubs. These centers are not just for sports. They are high-end hospitality venues serving $15 juices, but this rapid expansion has hit a literal wall, a wall made of sound. The noise war. If you live near a paddle court, it doesn't sound like sport. It sounds like distant gunfire. A tennis racket hitting a ball creates a low-frequency thud at 85 decibels. A carbon fiber paddle racket hitting a pressurized ball creates a 91 decibel pop. It is high frequency, it is repetitive, and it is causing a civil war in wealthy neighborhoods. The physics of the carbon fiber face creates a specific acoustic impulse. The human brain finds this sound more irritating than steady traffic. Residents in the UK and Sweden have petitioned local councils to ban the sport. They call it acoustic hostility. In 2026, new laws are emerging to stop the noise war. Developers are now forced to install specialised acoustic glass. This glass can cost upwards of $40,000 per court. This has created a high barrier to entry for small players. It ensures that only the big money, the QSIs and the Zlatans, can afford to build. The bullet sound is the only thing standing between padel and total urban dominance, but even with the lawsuits, the momentum is unstoppable. The final endgame. Padel has passed 77,000 courts globally. A new court opens every 90 minutes. The 35 million players are just the beginning of the curve. The sport is currently pushing for a spot in the 2032 Brisbane Olympics. Once that happens, the land grab will be permanent. The backyard game from Acapulco has successfully cannibalized the traditions of the past. It didn't win because it was more historic. It won because it was more efficient. In the 2026 economy, space is the most valuable commodity, and padel is the only sport that knows how to squeeze every dollar out of it. Traditional tennis is a luxury of space that cities can no longer afford. The land grab is over, and the predator has already won.